here with Gabe Boudreau, right?
That's it.
Yeah. So no sergeant.
I used to be Sergeant Boudreau, but I'm retired now, so I kind of dropped that. I use that in my music
Uh huh.
career that I had, and I don't go by Sergeant Boudreau ever
Okay.
at all. Nobody calls me that. They call me Gabe.
Okay. Okay. So like I said, this is just laid back, man. Just ask people questions, and I'm just happy to have ones that want to get on and talk. My channel ain't like big or anything like that, but there's some people in the industry that watch it.
Yeah, right.
Uh, but let's go ahead and get started. So, where are you originally from?
I was born in Anaheim, California,
Ah, cool.
and just right down the street from Disneyland, and that's where I lived when I was a little kid. And then my parents moved to Northern California, and I was up there for a while. And then in 1986, that's when we moved back to SoCal, and I lived in Norco, California.
Okay.
So, but originally from Anaheim, California.
Okay. Yeah, that's been like my dream is to live over there, man. Ever since I was like a kid. But so you was in like the mecca of it all.
Yeah, I didn't know it. I had no idea that I was in the mecca of RC. Right at the right time and right at the right place.
So, how did you get into RC out of everything going on in California? I mean, California or that part of California is like the mecca of just about everything. How did you get into RC?
Well, it's kind of interesting. I had a neighbor named Jay Halsey, and he did TV commercials. And he made a TV commercial, and the TV commercial was the Tyco Turbo Hopper 2. And I saw that TV commercial, and I was like screaming and crying, trying to get it from my mom. And she's like, "Oh, your birthday's coming up." And back in the 80s, like, kids aren't not like now. Now, if you ask your mom for something, she'd probably get it for you.
Right.
Back then, it was like, "Oh, we got to save up for it," and I got to talk to your dad and all this and that. And so on my birthday, I ended up getting a Tyco Turbo Hopper 2, the one that was on TV from Jay Halsey. So it didn't last long. It lasted about 10 minutes when I got it home and got it running.
Uh-huh.
I took it off a sweet jump, and the front end broke off of it. And that was it for the Tyco. And we took it back, got another one, and it broke in like 15 minutes. So my dad came home. I was upset. My mom was like, "We're taking it back. We're getting our money back. You're not going to have an RC car." And I'm like, "Oh, man." And my dad's like, "No, wait a minute. There's a track here in Norco, and we're going to go over and check it out. And I'm going to take Gabe next week, and we're going to check it out, and we're going to see what the prices of the cars are."
Right.
So we went over to Breakaway Raceway and talked to the owner. It was Ned Morrison and his brother Sparky. They were I don't know Sparky's name. I still don't know his name to this day, but he was his brother, and he was an electrician, so they called him Sparky. And we bought a RC10, and Jay Halsey was on the cover, and I recognized him because I'd seen him in town.
Right.
So he was our neighbor in Norco.
That is so cool, man. Like, that is the RC dream right there,
I didn't know it at the time that, like, I knew Jay was famous because he was on the box, right?
Right.
So, this was the original RC10 gold pan chassis. It even had bushings in it. It was like before you could get bearings in the kit, you had to upgrade to bearings.
That's what I had. Yeah.
So, yeah, you had to get bushings to start out. That's how OG it was. But it was the original Team Associated. It had Gene Hustings' hands in it with the directions on how to put everything together. And there was pro tips in it and everything. I mean, it was a killer build. Me and my dad did it. My dad had carpal tunnel, though, because he was a construction worker. So he was suffering from that at the time. It took us a month to build that car.
Uh,
and get it going.
uh,
But we did finally get it on the track after a month, and we raced a breakaway. And my very first race, I finished second. I got a rock stuck in my wheel, and I was off the track for maybe 2 laps, and I still ended up finishing second. And I thought the world ended. I thought you were supposed to win every race, you know. So
right.
I thought my dad was going to be mad at me and all this stuff. My dad's like, heck no, man. He's like, you did great. And I'm like, yeah, but I would have won if that rock wasn't in my wheel and all this. And he's like, don't worry about that. You have plenty more chances to get first place in your life. He's like, that was just the first time. It's like, you did great. So I was kind of hooked from day one of that turbo hopper all the way until we got our RC10 built.
Mm-hmm.
I was hooked. I was 10 years old, and I'd been in BMX, and I was really hot and heavy into dirt biking and things like that. My friends all had dirt bikes, so we didn't have dirt bikes,
right.
but my friends did. So I would ride their dirt bikes, unbeknownst to my mom,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I loved anything off road, anything that you could jump. Like I just thought that was cool. So
your RC10. Did it? So
yeah.
Mine, I had the gold pan. So I got into it in 91, and I wanted to be Cliff Lett. So I got the RC10 gold pan, and my wheels were a 3-piece wheel with bushings. Yep. And I didn't have an ESC. I had the wiper arm, which is 2 servos.
Yeah, I had that
too. Yep. And my box, I think I remember my box. My box was Jay Halsey on the box, but he was maybe in like some off-road race gear, like off-road race suit.
Yep, he was.
And the car, was.
And he had 2 trophy girls by him.
Yeah, and the car was like a full size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. The box art back then was like crazy compared to what it is now. So it was like the real deal. Like, this guy's a real racer. I'm like, that's my neighbor. I've seen him like riding his bike down the street,
Yeah. I put my kid, I was 12 years old. My folks didn't want anything to do with it. My mom got me the car to keep me out of trouble, because rolling with, the wrong crowd. But to get that car, she wouldn't give me lunch money. So I was like middle school and stuff like that. I never ate lunch with everybody. But I went racing on the weekend. But I remember like I didn't glue the tires because I didn't want to waste the wheels.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yep.
And they just spinned. But I
remember doing stuff like that. Yeah, you didn't glue your tires. When I first started, you didn't glue your tires. They were so hard.
Yeah.
That like if you could get your tire on the rim, like you accomplished something right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were so hard. They were made out of plastic and like a plastic rubber. So you didn't have to glue them. I don't remember gluing my first tire until like the 90s.
Well, do you remember Cliff Lett's car? He had a square hole cut out in the center, where his battery went. I think it's where his battery went. He had a square hole for, I guess, lightness or something.
Yeah, he lightened it up. Yep.
Well, I thought I was slick, and I snuck over to my neighbor's house, and he drilled some holes in my pan car. Like I said, I wanted to be Cliff Lett. I mean, that was my goal, was to be Cliff Lett, Cliff Lett.
I always had a goal of being Jay Halsey and getting my picture on the box like that. I thought everybody did that. Like,
yeah.
I didn't know how special that was, and how rare that is.
So, back then when you was a kid, who was you racing with back then?
Oh man, Cliff Lett. He'd come out. Derek Fertani.
That's my buddy.
What's that?
Derek Fertani. I met him at the '94 Winter Champs, and we lost contact around '99 or so. But from '94 to '99, he was my eyes and ears out in California. He told me like what was new, what was the setup.
Yeah, he's with Kyosho now, and I talked to him last night.
Yeah.
I talked to him about this interview actually, and he thought it was pretty cool. He's like, "Wow." So
Yeah, he gave me his house number, but he's like, you might not reach me at my house, so he gave me the number to SoCal Raceway.
Yep. Yeah, that's where we were all the time.
Oh, sorry
In the
about
mid-90s, we were always at SoCal.
sorry about that to interrupt. But so you race with Derek Furtani and Cliff Lett. And,
Derek Furtani, Cliff Lett, Jay Halsey, Gillosi Jr., Gillosi Sr. used to race back then at Breakaway. Brandy Dreyfus, Michelle Rivera, Brian Peterson,
yep.
Chris, Alec, Daryl Lane of A&L. Both of those guys used to race there. Rick Hort would come out and race.
Yep.
Kinwald came out and raced at our track. Mark Pavitas raced out there. I mean, these were just local guys that, I raced with all those dudes back in the day, and they were just normal dudes back then, but they all raced the modified class. Back then, you remember, you started out a novice, and then they kick you out a novice, and it was at the race director's discretion.
Yeah.
And then, so I got kicked out of novice after about 4 months, and then I was in stock class.
Yep.
So then I was in stock, and I raced stock for years and years and years, until probably 91 is whenever, I think 91 is when I got kicked out of stock class, and they said, you can no longer race stock class here, unless you race modified. If you race modified, you can race stock, but you can't race just stock. You have to race modified too.
Right. Because
Breakaway, like, those guys knew everybody in the industry, and the race directors were tied into the industry. The owners were. I mean, it was a big thing, and they had a lot of fast drivers there. And they knew if you just stayed in stock your whole life, that you'd never, get recognized. So they made me race modified in like 1991, I would say. And I won the first night. I won modified truck and modified buggy the first night at Breakaway that I raced it.
Cool.
And people were like, what the hell? This guy never loses. What is going on with this kid? He's just a rocket ship, and I just carried that momentum from there and just won so many races, regional races. I won a state championships in 92 in two-wheel modified.
Cool.
So in California, yeah, and that was like a big deal. The state championships back then were a big deal. Yeah. I won the Norca Series race. I won... I TQ'd the score off-road race, but I missed my main because I was watching the bikini contest, so I missed my main. But I TQ'd though, and I went to the Mickey Thompson races. I TQ'd a couple of those and won a couple of those events. I couldn't do all of them because my dad wouldn't take me down to San Diego, and we couldn't go to Vegas and things like that. So, but the regional races in my area, I won a lot of them, a lot. I had a book that I carried with me all the way when I was a pro and everything in the 90s that had all my race wins in it. It all counted up and everything, and it was in the 600s. Right. So I've won over 600 main events in my life.
And that's a big feat to be out there winning, like versus us over here on the East Coast, or Florida has on this side on the East Coast. Florida has like the fast guys back in the day. So it's a big feat to win in Florida too.
Yeah, Florida always has good competition. They still do, even in 8 scale now. They have some fast drivers. Yeah. So they have some breakout drivers out there. I know that for a fact. So I watch them on their series race.
Yeah. So your first sponsor, and how did you land him?
Okay, first sponsor. This is a great story. So I'm racing. It's 1995. I'm racing an RPM truck because I am sponsored by RPM. They were officially my first sponsor, but my first factory sponsorship was Team Associated. Okay. And I bought a Team Losi double X CR off of the shelf at SoCal Raceway because I worked there, so I got a discount. and I bought it off the shelf. I built it in the pits and put it out on the track on a Wednesday night and TQ'd and got second place. And Greg won that night. Greg Hodap won that night.
Yep.
And I finished second, and Brian finished third. And I go to, this is a Wednesday night, and I go to my other job, which is at Revelation Race. I worked at SoCal as a race director, and I worked at Revelation Raceway as a race director.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to my other job at Revelation, and I'm telling my boss, who's Dana Smeltzer, and I'd been telling him how good I'd been doing over the last, I'd worked for him for about 6 months, and I'm telling him how good I'm doing, and, it's time for somebody to pick me up, and this and that, and I'm like, I'm kind of out of ideas on that. I'm like, I'm TQing down at SoCal and beating the best drivers in the world, and nothing's happening. He's like, well, do you ever talk to Mike Reedy? I'm like, not really. Mike's there every night, but no, I don't talk to him. And he goes, do you want to be on Team Associated? He's like, would that be okay? He's like, you mentioned a Losi car. I'm like, yeah, I'd love to be on Team Associated. So he calls Mike Reedy, and I'm standing next to him as he's talking to Mike Reedy. It's like 11:30 at night, and he just casually rolls up and calls Mike Reedy on the phone. He's like, hey, Mike. He's like, you ever heard of this guy, Gabe Boudreau? And Mike's like, yeah, he's a Team Losi driver. And Dana goes, do you run for Team Losi? I'm like, nope. And he goes, he says he doesn't run for Team Losi. He wants to run for you guys. Mm-hmm. He's all, do you think you can help him out and put him on the team? And Mike Reedy says, yeah, he's the race director. He's all, tell him to come and see me on Tuesday. He's going to be there for practice, right? Uh-huh. And I'm like, yes, I will be there. I will. Mike Reedy wants to talk to me now. Uh-huh. But yes, I will be there. So I show up Tuesday the next week. Dana talks to Mike for like an hour. He asked me to leave, and he talked to Mike for another hour on the phone, and then he came back in, and he's like, it's all set up. Go see him on Tuesday. And I'm like, you're kidding, right? And he's like, no. And I'm like, who are you? And he's like, oh, I helped design one of the first Associated cars. I'm on Team Associated. He's like, I know, I'm best friends with Gene Hustings. I'm like, oh my God, I had no idea. Yeah. I just thought he owned Revelation, and he was a fast on-road racer, but I had no idea that he designed the RC 800 or whatever. The RC, I think it was the 800, not the 500, the 800. Uh-huh. Dana was part of that. So I did not know that, and I didn't know that he was friends with Gene and Mike and all those dudes down there, and I'm like, wow. So I show up Tuesday, and Mike looks at me, and he's all, I always thought you ran for Team Losi because you're always hanging out with Brian, and I'm like, I hang out with Colin and Bobby and the other guys, and I talked to Mark, and me and Scott Hughes go way back.
Oh, Scott Hughes.
Yeah, Scott Hughes. Yeah, and he goes, okay. He's all, what do you want? I'm like, well, a lot of people have offered me 50% sponsorships, and I haven't taken it because I kind of think that's BS. I'm like, I want to be on the A team and be able to order any parts that I need, and full support from Reedy and the batteries that they get at the nationals and all that stuff. And he's like, okay. He's all, I can do that for you. He's all, are you going to be here tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, I'm working tomorrow. And he's like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow. So the next day on a Wednesday, I'm calling the race, and Mike Reedy comes in through the door, and he's got a bag, it's a trash bag, but it's clear. It's just this huge bag, and it's got a B2 kit in it, like 100 pairs of wheels, and like just all the parts that you could imagine for a B2, and the B2 isn't even barely been out, but maybe a week.
Yeah.
And he's got all this, right?
Uh-huh.
He walks up on the driver's stand. He walks through the driver's stand during the race, because you could come up the backside where the ramp was at. He walked up the ramp. He comes up and he's like, "Here you go, Gabe." He's all, "Congratulations." He's all, "See you." See you Friday. I'm like, okay. And a guy named Mike Poole was sitting next to me, and he's like, "Oh my God, dude!" He's all, "You have to look. I can't. I'm hand counting the race. We didn't have transponders, so I'm hand counting the race. I can't look away." And Mike's like, "Give me the keyboard. I'll count." So I slide the keyboard over to him, and he starts counting. He was my spotter. If I missed one, he would tell me what number it was.
Yeah.
So he starts counting, and I look over, and there's just this huge bag. I mean, I can't even describe how big this bag is. Just full of associated stuff.
Uh-huh.
A B2, all the parts for it, wheels, bodies, everything. So I'm like, holy crap. And then Mike goes, make sure you order again for your truck. And he's like, I didn't have enough room in my car to bring all that, so I just brought your buggy. I was like, all right, cool. And that was it. I was on Team Associated, and that was in December of 1995. I had made it from scrub little racer in 87 all the way to not travel team, but factory team for Team Associated. You know, not a travel team driver yet, because they didn't have paid drivers back then.
Yeah.
So, but travel team was like the top that you could get, and then there was the A team that was also sponsored 100%. They got everything they needed, but they paid for their travel.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was on, and Mike Reedy just like unlocked all these doors for me instantly, like, and it was on. It was like in my head, like gears all just shifted, and it felt real. For the first time, I couldn't believe it, and Mike Poole grabs the microphone and he's like, in case anybody's wondering, Gabe Boudreau is now sponsored 100% through Team Associated and Reedy Modifieds and Orion Batteries. And everybody starts clapping and cheering and whistling and everything. This is at SoCal Raceway in the middle of a race, and people are just like hooting and hollering and everything.
Yeah.
And it was great. And that was it. That's how I got my first factory sponsorship. Like Schumacher had offered me 50%. Yeah. Traxxas offered me 50%. All these other teams had offered me 50%. I was like, hell no, I'm sticking to my guns. I know I'm good enough to be on these top teams.
Yeah.
And when I get there, I'm never looking back.
Yeah.
And I never did.
Yeah.
That's my story of how I got on the team, man. On Team Associated, and yeah, it was a wild toad ride, but that's how I did it.
Yeah, I remember when the B2 came out, I was at the 95 Nationals in Savannah, Georgia, and my buddy Anthony Andrews was sponsored by Peak Motors, which was Rick Howard's company.
Yep.
And we all, Rick Howard had the B2, his whole crew. J.D. Beckwith came out for that race. All Associated had the B2. Here I am with the 93 Worlds car, the Kinwald run.
Yeah, that's all right. That's still a good car then.
And, through Anthony Andrews, I got to go out to eat with Rick Howard and his crew, and he was just like, yeah, you're going to be super impressed when you get the B2. He's like,
Yeah, the B2 was so good.
Yes.
It was such an upgrade, and it was so good. It changed a lot of stuff. I know the B3 was the one that won the Worlds and all that, but the B2, like, the B3 is just the B2 upgraded a little bit. It's not a huge change in the car. The B2 was an amazing car.
I thought
amazing car.
Didn't Francis win the Worlds with B2?
Yep.
Yeah.
And Francis won the car with the Worlds with the B2.
95.
In 95 with a prototype, though.
Yeah.
In 99 when Masami won, that was not a prototype. That was a production car.
Yeah.
So it's a little different to win with your production cars.
But yeah, that was my highlight of meeting Rick Howard, man, and he treated me like some of the people that are sponsored, man, they act kind of snobbish. And not Rick Howard, man. He's like, yeah, we're out to eat over here, and we met over there, and we went out to eat, and it was cool, man. Like, it was like, like I felt like one of the guys, even though I was sponsored, I had a motor sponsor, Scooter Motorsports back then, but I was over there eating with Rick Howard and them, but anyway,
that's awesome.
Switch it back. What was your breakout race? Like, once you got sponsored, what was that race that you was just like, all right?
The one, okay, it's. I thought about this question last night, and it's the 1996 NORCA National Championships. That was my breakout. That race turned on a light that has never dimmed. since then. It set the precedent
Mhm.
and saved Team Associated's reputation because they lost every national that year except for the one that I won. So, yeah, a lot of people don't remember that. They didn't have four-wheel drive cars back then, and there's only 4 national championships up for grab. And they didn't win any of the pro classes, but they did win the expert class at the 96 Nationals, and that was a big deal. I even made the press release for winning, TQing and winning that. Now, here's the thing. I was a A-team driver, but I didn't pay for my entries, or I paid for my entries. Associated didn't pay for my entries. So when I get there, I had signed up in the factory modified class and the factory modified truck class, buggy and truck. J.R. Stitman put me in the expert classes. So I go up there with Mike Reedy, and I'm like, you put me in the wrong class, dude. I'm supposed to be in the factory classes. This is who I race all the time, and I whoop these dudes.
Right.
No, you're in the right class, blah, blah, blah. He's like, your entry was paid by a check that said Gabe Boudreau on it. And I'm like, so what? And he's like, it has to say Mike Reedy on it from Team Associated for you to race the factory class. And I looked at Mike. I'm like, is that true, Mike? And then Mike's like, I think he's right. And I'm like, okay. I'm all right. Well, next year I'll be in the factory class. And Mike's going to be sending my my entry in.
Right.
Right? So I was determined to win that race. Like, from the minute I got there and they messed up my freaking entry, all the way to the end of the race, I was like super determined to win the race, and I TQ'd every round. I won the first A main, the second A main. A guy named Wes Casper and I were racing for the win, and Wes took me out and won the race. And everybody booed and everything, but it didn't matter. He won the race. He took me out on purpose.
Yeah.
It was obvious. He won the second A main, but I didn't even give him a chance to win the third A main. He was nowhere to be found in the third A main.
Yeah.
And I won the 2 class in the expert modified buggy, and that was my breakout race because the next month was the Roar Nationals, right? And I'm paying for my own room, I'm paying for my flights, I'm paying for the entries, all that stuff, from my money that I'm making from SoCal and Revelation.
Right.
That's how I'm paying for everything. And I'm going to the Roar Nationals so I can qualify for the World Championships in 97.
Right.
And that race really, like, J.R. Stitman egged me on, and there was nothing Mike could do. Mike had done everything he could do as our team manager, and, and I did everything I could out on the track to win the race, and I did. And saved Team Associated's reputation for that year. Right. You know, they won 1 national that year, and it was me. So that was a big deal. I went to the nationals in Wagon Hill, the one that we were talking about the other day. Yeah. And I was able to make the main. I actually out-qualified Brian Kinwald. Yeah. Even though he beat me in the main, I out-qualified him. And I did great there too and qualified for the Worlds. And then Mike Reedy goes, Gabe, come over here. I'm like, what's up, Mike? He's like, you just qualified for the Worlds and the Reedy Invitational race next year. I'm like, and I got like little tingles, you know, the little chill bumps. Yeah. I got those little chill bumps. I was like, I didn't even say anything. I just, thank you, Mike. And I just walked away. Yeah. You know, and they're like, and some of the other guys were like, what did Mike say? I'm like, I qualified for the Worlds and the Invitational class at the Reedy race. Yeah. So, but that race in 96 at the Norca Nationals spurred all that success further on. You know, and I won a lot of races. I won 4 races in 96. And Nationals was one of them. And what? I won the Reedy truck race. Like, I've won that race a few times, but I won the Reedy truck race, and that was a big deal back then. Like, that was full factory support back then. Jeremy Court. All the motor guys showed up. All the fastest drivers were all there. Yep. And, I think I won the stock truck class or something like that, but it didn't matter. I won a class at the Reedy truck race. And And in the nationals, and then I won the Lake Havasu had a race, a little regional race called the Battle of the Beach, and I TQ'd and won that.
Mhm.
And
Well, let me say this. Back then, you know,
I won 3 races that year, not 4.
back then versus now, is people back then could take you out and they didn't have to pull over. You just got them back the next race, you know.
Yeah, you just got him back. I never got West Casper back. I never drove like that. I always tried to drive as smooth as possible, and if I hit you and I keep going, you deserved it.
Right.
You earned it somewhere.
Right. Or if you took somebody out the next race, you would like if they came up on you, you would kind of pull over, kind of give them a spot back, you know, like, hey, sorry about that. But it wasn't this. I barely tap you. Now I got to pull over the next corner to let you by. And takeouts back then were takeouts. Like it was a full blown hit back then.
Yeah, it was on purpose.
Yeah.
You could tell.
97 worlds. My question is how, where, and the stories. Like, was it at Ranch Pit Shop?
It was at the Ranch Pit Shop.
Yeah.
Ranch Pit Shop in Pomona, California. Yep. It was August of 1997.
Yep.
Like literally the hottest days of the year in Pomona. They put the race right in the middle of it.
So, what you remember, or what was it like going into that race?
Well, I had won the Cactus Classic at SRS track, and that was huge. I had jumped motor companies. I was on Rick's team for Peak, and Rick, he couldn't pay us for all of our wins, me and Matt Francis, so we switched to Trinity.
Right.
So, I hope Rick doesn't hear this, but yeah, that's why we switched.
He probably will.
And Trinity paid all the money that Rick owed for us. To me and Matt, we got paid.
Right.
So I jumped motor companies, and that's a huge thing to do in the middle of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And I had tons of momentum going in the race. I won the club race the night before, or the week before the actual race. I won the club race, where everybody that was at, they had all 150 drivers at this club race,
right?
Plus the locals, and they did 5-minute heats, and they only did one single 5-minute main because it was like midnight when we got done, and it was a Wednesday night, and I won that. So I was the favorite going into the race. After that, they're like, Gabe's gonna win the Worlds. This dude's just he's on a roll, and he's flying out there. He's got it figured out. He's the favorite. So that's what Junior told me. I didn't believe him. I'm like, okay, whatever. Brian Kinwald and Masami are here.
Right.
They're the favorites. And I thought Matt Francis would do a lot better in two-wheel.
Right.
As well, because he had been practicing so much at the ranch. We all had. And, I remember going out there, and I was in the 10th qualifier. There's 15 qualifiers. I was in the 10th heat, and I thought I was screwed because I wasn't with anybody fast except for Scott Hughes. So me and Scott Hughes would go back and forth in our qualifiers, like leading the race, and we both made the main out of the 10th heat. Nobody from race 9 or lower made the main. All the people from the main came from race 10 and on. Okay, so I was kind of worried about that, but I overcame that. Then I'm sitting 10th with 2 heats to go, and Chris Bing, my old buddy Chris Bing, and Matt Francis are in the last 2 races. Bing's on a good run. They could put him in the main, and he crashed. And Matt Francis crashed on lap 1, and I was like, I'm in the main. I made the main. I made the main.
Right.
I knew it. Like I'm sitting alone on the benches. They had bleachers for the fans, and I'm sitting alone on the bleachers watching this. And I'm like, I made the main. I saw Matt Francis crash, and I'm like, you're in the main right there. I didn't crash in any of my qualifiers, so I knew that I knew my time was fast enough to get 10th, and because we were doing qual points for the first time, so it's a little different than normal. And if we would have went by rocket round, I would have had the 7th fastest time. So we went by qual points. I had the 10th overall average. So
you know something,
I made the main either way.
You know something that back then that is different now is when we finished qualifying, we came back to the track and watched the other racers qualify, and we would count like that. You know, like they don't do that now.
Nah, you don't really have to with live RC. You can
true.
Just kind of look at your phone.
Yeah.
So, or if you have a computer set up on your, if you have a computer set up in your pits or something, then you can just watch online. You know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, back then you had to do all the math in your head. You had to math all this stuff in your head to figure out where you were. You had to do the math and figure it out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
I knew the only 2 guys that could beat me were Matt Francis and Chris Bing, and they both crashed.
Yeah.
So I was in the main. Yep.
Yeah, me and Chris Bing raced on Scooter Motorsports. Me, Chris Bing, Dean Kearns, Todd Hodge. I wasn't the fast guy on it, and I was the only guy on scooters racing an associated car, but I wasn't fast or anything. He just picked me up because he liked the relationship me and my dad had in the pits and how we were. But
awesome.
I just remember those guys. I mean, Chris Bing, and I remember Dean Kearns going. Me and Dunbar talked about Dean Kearns going to Japan for the Worlds. But
yeah.
So you qualify in. So what was the day like at the Worlds then?
It was super hot. I remember that.
Yeah.
I cut the sleeves off of one of my shirts. Losi got mad at that. It was just super hot. I remember it was very dusty. But just like this overall like sense of accomplishment, like phew.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, people, you know how people are, man. If they don't like you, they try to cut you down and bring you down, and they'll say stuff. And I remember sitting with some of my friends who were racers too, like breakaway. We were in the pits one day, and I'm like, I'm gonna be at the Worlds in within the next 3 years.
Yeah.
And this was like 1994, and they all started laughing. They're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be at the Worlds. I'm gonna be at the Worlds, and I'm gonna win the Worlds.
Yeah.
By 1997, I will be in a World Championship, and I will be a World Champion." They're like, "Get out of here, man."
Yeah.
They're telling me, "No, you can't do it. You can't do it." And then you have your own self-doubts, you know, if you can do certain things. And I overcame all of those pressures and all the self-doubt, all the doubt from the people, and I accomplished something at 19 years old that most Americans, humans, never do ever. I mean, think of how many people race RC cars maybe in the whole world is maybe 100,000.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was one of those guys that made the main at the World Championships. So
about tires back then, I don't remember. Only other brand I remember running back then was Proline Square Fuzzies.
Yeah,
was there
we ran a lot of those. There was Losi tires though. We had the X2000s at the Worlds, and Associated approached us and asked us if they could have one pair for Masami, and Gil Losi Jr. and Sr. thought about it, and they were like, "Nope, sorry."
That was kind of ballsy.
Yeah, because the teams used to share tires back then sometimes.
Oh.
At big races, but not at that one. No. Losi was like, "We are going to have every advantage that we can have to beat Masami, including tires." So we had the better tire, and there's a story for that too. if you want to hear it.
Yeah, go ahead. Hey, we got hours, man.
Alright. So the story goes the world's warm up in 1997.
Uh-huh.
Probably the only race that I didn't make the A main that year.
Uh-huh.
But the world's warm up, Team Losi decides after round one that we're going to throw the entire race. But everybody has to be on board and everybody has to be like selling it. And it's called the rope-a-dope.
Uh-huh.
Just like Cassius Clay used to rope guys in and then boom, Muhammad Ali, he would rope them in.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he'd explode off the ropes and next thing you know the guy's on the ground, right? Rope-a-dope.
Yep.
So we come up with that plan, which my dad was the one that initiated it,
Uh-huh.
and suggested it to Gil Ossie Jr. And Jr. suggested it to his dad, and his dad said, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's get the team together, and we're gonna tell everybody to throw the race. Don't try. In fact, do the opposite. Make it look like you're pissed off and that you're frustrated and you don't know what you're doing out there."
Uh-huh.
So everybody does that. Kinwald qualifies 10th. And we sucker these dudes in there, and the whole thought behind it was that Team Associated and Proline won't come and develop their cars
Uh-huh.
because they think they're so fast right now that they have everything they need to win the actual world.
Right.
But nobody knows about this but the people on Team Losi.
Uh-huh.
So the magazines are like, "Oh, Associated smokes Team Losi.
Uh-huh.
Where's Team Losi at? Only one man makes the main, blah, blah, blah," right? All the magazines are selling it. Everybody's selling this bullshit that we put out there.
Uh-huh.
And we rope-a-doped them in, and we developed our X2000 tire on that track, and it was made specifically for the ranch, and it was made specifically for the World Championships, and we would not give Associated any of those tires, our Proline.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't share with them. And we ended up winning the Worlds with them, and they were the fastest tire for the weekend. We had the fastest time, even though we didn't have TQ. We had the fastest overall time, and we had the fastest lap, and we were the fastest in two-wheel overall, and we won the race. And Masami got third, and Masami don't get third at the Worlds.
Nah.
You know, so Masami ended up third, and it's like, whew, those Losi boys, man, they must have had a plan or something. Where'd they come from? So we rope-a-doped Team Associated and Proline, but yeah, the tires back then were Team Losi and Proline. That was pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
There was no other tires.
Yeah.
So.
What you remember what ESC you was running back then? Like when I was running, I switched to the I think I had the LRP for Associated. Like all the Associated guys, even though I was unsponsored, I think all the Associated guys went to LRP.
Yep. Everybody around Associated ran LRP, and then when I switched to Team Losi, I switched to Team Novak, and I had the Cyclone ESC, my favorite speed control of all time.
Right.
So, the Pit Wizard came with it, and I had a Pit Wizard. Novak gave me a Pit Wizard, and I could sit there and tune my speed control.
Yeah.
To help me go faster around the track.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys didn't like it, but I love that speed control. Once I figured out what worked and what didn't, it was on, man.
So, what I done, and, thankful to my dad, I mean, we done everything unsponsored, like, Scooters was a Losi pretty much brand or company, and we was associated. Because I got the Double X when it first came out, when Joe Johnson, I think, won the Worlds with it or something. No, Kinwald won the Worlds, but Joe Johnson.
Kinwald won the World. Joel TQ'd.
Yeah. So I got the first Double X, and man, I had a time with it, and it was bad. It was one of those cars I didn't want to revisit. But anyway, when Matt Francis won the Worlds in Japan, I copied his car from the speed control to his servo. I did everything except his motors. But I copied his whole car, So I was an LRP Aerotronics guy.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's a great setup. I ran LRP when I was on Associated too, and I loved them.
Yeah. Did you ever run 7 sail?
Yes.
Yeah.
When you ran modified back in the 80s and 90s, you ran 7 cell.
Yeah, I ran 7 sail in the truck.
Yeah, usually you do it in truck, but I would run it in car too.
Yeah.
Because I developed a really good throttle control.
Uh-huh.
So I could tame the motor through the infield, and then when I got on the straightaway and I pulled the trigger to go down the straightaway, I'd lose you by 10 feet right there.
Right. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I remember meeting Gil Losi and Pops and all that, and they were. You know what's crazy is like Gil Losi and Gil Losi Senior and Gene Hustings were all, and Mike Reed. They were all super nice people, but it was like some of the people that were up under them were kind of snooty.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah. So next,
that's the way it is, man. It's They were the nicest guys, like you said. They were all good guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have nothing bad to say about any of them.
Yeah, Mike Reedy tuned one of my motors at the Winter Champs one year. He cut the comm for me, and I wasn't even sponsored by the guy, you know.
Yeah, he didn't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mike didn't care, man. He just wanted you to go fast and have fun.
Yeah.
Like, that was his whole thing.
So
he didn't care who you ran for.
Next question, big question is 97, and you say you didn't go to the 99 Worlds, or?
I qualified for the 99 Worlds automatically by making the top 10, so I was already qualified.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to get signed up and find enough money to buy a plane ticket to Finland, and I just couldn't do it, so I didn't go.
So the big question is, after RC racing, like how did you, what prompted that transition that each and every one of us come to that fork in the road when we raced as kids, is we come to that fork where we have to transition.
Yeah, what happened was it was 2006, mm-hmm. and I was still racing, but I was racing as an independent driver. I had my own motor team at one time. Mm-hmm. Now I was racing Nitro. I was racing 8-scale, and I was racing Nitro because a lot of guys had transitioned into that, and that was where the competition was. Mm-hmm. So I followed along and transitioned into Nitro. I got Adam Drake to help me. I got Chad Bradley to help me kind of get over the hump, and they helped me with tuning my engine. Andy Smolnick helped me out a lot. So got into that, and you know, it's 2006, and I'm like in my late 20s, and you know, I have friends that are lawyers and doctors and just police officers and firemen and everything else, and then here I am. I'm an RC racer, and I'm just like,
yeah.
And not a well-paid one either, because I was independent. So I'm doing like odd jobs and stuff, or I'm working at factories or something.
Yeah.
Just trying to make enough money so I can go racing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, I've kind of tested everything here. I think it's time to join the service and do that. And plus, I didn't feel like I was a good role model at the time, just living the weird lifestyle that I was. Going to these races and going out clubbing every night and like not really caring about the race anymore, just caring about going out and chasing girls and stuff. And,
yep.
And I'm like, yeah, you know, I think I'm over that. I'm gonna go in the service. So I wanted to be a better role model for the kids that were watching me in the magazines and knew who I was and stuff. And mm-hmm. Yeah, so I signed up for the military and got out of all my contracts that I had. I had to leave all the contracts that I had. Mm-hmm. I didn't have that many, but I had to leave all of them. And I started my career in the military in 2007. I signed up in 2006, but I didn't actually go off to basic until 2007. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
And I did that, and I did a really good job in the Army. It was super easy to me. I just acted like I was Forrest Gump in there. Like, right. I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And then as a private, they have to tell you to do everything that you got to do, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, I don't know how to do that. How do I do it? And they're like, go over there, do this. And then I do it, and they're like, well, that guy knew how to do that the whole time. I can tell.
Right.
So I excelled at the Army. It was easy to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it paid a lot better than RC.
Right.
So, and I was a role model now. I was an actual role model. And once I started in the military, I totally forgot about RC racing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
I was focused on that.
With me, it was like I graduated high school, and my dad was like, all right, you are pretty much on your own. And so I had enrolled in a community college, went for mechanical engineering at the community college, and Scooter Motorsports, and all of them are like, well, we ain't seen you at the races. And I'm sitting here thinking, I couldn't tell them, hey, I can't afford to go to the races. Like I'm on my own. And Todd Hodge sent me a letter saying I was kicked off the team. And I was just like, okay. So
that sucks. That's hard. I know. I've gotten a few of those letters. I got phone calls too.
Yeah.
So
I was just like, okay, I mean, and it's kind of like what you said. I just forgot about RC racing because I had bigger fish to fry.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, defending the country or defending the inside line.
Yeah.
One's a little more important.
Yeah. Mine was, do you want to eat?
Do you want to eat or do you want to race a race car?
Yeah. My folks let me live at home while I was in school. They didn't charge me rent, so that was good. But still, I had to pay for schooling and stuff, and back and forth. But anyway, so going into the next one, Hoosiers, the reunion. How did that come about? Tell me about it, and how was your adventure going to that race?
All right, so.
And where did you find your car? Did you always had your XXCR?
No. That wasn't mine. That was a buddy of mine.
Okay.
So I borrowed it.
Okay.
So, I started racing again in 2016, and I raced for like 3 months, and then I got in this big car accident, and I couldn't race anymore. Mm-hmm. And my RC equipment was in the car. It got destroyed in the accident.
Oh.
So I didn't have any RC equipment. I didn't have anything. And Dirk Anderson, I had been on the old school website since right before the accident. That's when I signed up for the old school website, was right before the accident happened, like a week or maybe even a day or 2 days before. Mm-hmm. And I'd always looked at the feed whenever it would come through. I always, I like looking at the old cars and stuff and reminiscing and this and that. And one day, Dirk Anderson goes live, and I just happened to pop into his live feed, and I'm like, hey, Dirk. And he's like, hey, Gabe Boudreau's on here. He's like, he's one of the legends, and we're trying to get to this race, this and that. Uh-huh. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And so he brings me into the conversation. He, pulls me in.
Right.
On Facebook.
Right.
I don't even have a shirt on or nothing. I don't know what he was watching that day. I didn't have a shirt on or anything, and I'm like... He's like, do you want to come to this race? It's going to be the biggest race ever for old school stuff and this and that. And I'm like, I don't have anything. I haven't driven in 8 years. I don't really have a car or anything. I don't really have any equipment, no tools, nothing. Uh-huh. And he's like, oh, we'll get all that for you. Don't worry about it. I'm like, I don't think so. Uh-huh. So I told him no the first time. Then he would message me on Instant Messenger and ask me over and over. Uh-huh. Every day he'd message me and, have you changed your mind yet? I'm like, nope, still don't want to go. And then I'm talking to my buddy Chris Herndon, and he's like, dude, you should do this because he's like, look at all the guys that are going. And I'm like, I don't know. It's just a couple of guys. At that time, it was only 2 or 3 guys.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm all, these races, those guys never show up. Something comes up and they never show up or anything. I don't really want to put the effort into it.
Uh-huh.
So I told my friend Chris no, and then finally Chris convinced me to call Dirk.
Uh-huh.
So I agreed to go, and then the next thing you know, all the other people start just rattling off that they want to go too. I'm like, sweet.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that's kind of how it happened. That's how I got invited, and I finally told Dirk, yeah, I'll go, and they linked me up with Larry Nelson, who was my pit man, and then Jerry Walter was the guy that built the car for me. So those guys were all there, and yeah, I drove from San Antonio up there to Indiana. I don't fly anymore. I don't like to fly.
Uh-huh.
So I drove my wife and I drove up there, and I think you text me or something on the way back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but yeah, that's how I got there, and the race was great. I mean, it was incredible. I'm glad I went. That's for sure. But leading up to that, I started racing again here locally in San Antonio, and it kind of sparked a little spark.
Uh-huh.
And then now it's a flame. Now it's open flames, just full bore. And I'm going to not a major race. It's called a regional race. They call it a super regional.
Mm-hmm.
But the Lone Star Challenge, that's not this weekend, but next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to that, and I'm all set up now. I'm on Factory Tracks Racing through Alan Horn.
Okay.
And I'm sponsored by Team Associated, Reedy Power, Factory Team, J Concepts, and VRP.
Uh-huh.
So I have some sponsors to help me go to these races again, and yeah, it's like really lit the fire. And then I won my first race since I've been back. I won my first race on Saturday this last weekend.
Right.
Won my first point series race here locally. I haven't been able to beat these guys, and I finally put it all together and beat them.
Let me ask you this then. At Hoosiers, when you was on the driver's stand with Matt Francis or the guys, did anything in your head click like, all right, this is back in this is like that feeling that you had back in 97 and 96, that mindset, did it click there, or was it still like a fun race just to attend? Like, was you like...
No, what happened was I got there and I thought I'd be able to race the car and like actually push it and everything, and if I broke the car, they would take care of it and fix it. And then reality set in, and I had to pay for the car if I broke it, and I had to pay to fix it and all this, and I'm like, oh, hell no. I'm driving in the middle of the track, and I'm going half speed, and I don't really even care anymore about the race. I'm just here to put on the show.
Right.
Because, the front arm on a double X is $50, and I don't know about you, but that's a lot of money to me.
Yeah, I still have my old double X, but yeah.
Yeah, double X graphite arm is $50.
Well, I
broke one of those. I broke a hub that was $25.
Oh gosh.
So I was like, wow, I put a lot of time and effort to get here, and then now I have to pay for the cars and the parts.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
Nothing clicked ever there. It was just fun. It was just fun to drive around and be recognized as a legend and hang out with the guys. And we all went to dinner. The dinner was great. That was the best part of the whole weekend was the dinner. And guys would walk in and everybody would start, yeah! Jay Halsey walks in and everybody, yeah! Joel Johnson comes in, yeah! Matt Francis comes in, yeah! We're all cheering and clapping and having a great time. And that was the best part of the race. Was the dinner that we had like right before the race started. Mm-hmm. So, but the race itself was incredible for the guys that could push it and weren't worried about breaking parts and stuff like that. But for me, I was just driving around the track. I never tried to go fast at all. Was
there anybody there that was like, yeah, this is my revenge? Like I'm gonna push it?
No, there was some controversy, just like back in the day, though. Jay Halsey took out Greg Hodap at one of the races, and Greg comes over to me and he's like, "Do you think Associated would do that on purpose?" And I'm like, no. And I said, no, Team Associated didn't order Jay Halsey to take out Greg Hodap. I'm like, this is 1997, Greg. And he's all, it felt real, man. I'm like, he thought he was hitting me.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, but your car don't look like my car and this and that. I'm like, not to Jay Halsey, they all look the same probably. Who knows, dude?
Yeah.
You know, so I had to kind of chill Greg out a little bit and calm him down. And I said, Greg, look around, man. Look at the banners that are around here. I'm like, you're not supposed to win. I'm not supposed to win. You know, Dean's not supposed to win. This race was for Brian Dunbar and for Team Associated, man. It's their show. So just enjoy it. And he smiled and he's like, okay, yeah, that's a good perspective. You know,
so he got back in that mindset, like.
Oh, he was in it. Yeah.
That's what I had. Yep. I had a conversation with Jason Rona at Hoosiers last year, and I was like, you remember back in the day? I was like, it was a true war. It was like Associated against Losi, and nobody crossed. Like, it was like if you was at a race, you stayed in your pits with Losi, and they stayed in their pits with Associated. Nobody crossed that line. It was, you could feel the tension at the track.
Yep.
And he was like, yeah, it ain't that way now.
Absolutely not. It isn't. It's everybody kind of gets along. Like, I mean, people have their arguments and stuff, but yeah, Greg was in that full on. Dude, they had team orders to take me out. I'm like, nah, dude.
Yeah.
Jay Halsey has like glasses that are like 6 inches thick. He can't see like he used to. I'm sure he didn't take you out on purpose.
But the thing back then, like you said, there was team tactics, and
oh yeah, there was. Oh yes, there was. I know all about that.
And they don't, and it's crazy because they don't do that. But my mindset is like, why are they not doing this? Why are they not coming together as a team? Why are they not coming together? Why is it every man for itself or for themselves? You know, and
I don't know what it is now. I'm not sure. They just, a lot of the guys are friends with each other, so
yes.
They don't. Their rivalries don't build up. That's what's kind of cool about the Tater Sontag and the Aiden Horn rivalry.
Yeah.
You know, there's actual real blood that's about to be shed here.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get to witness all of it. So I can't wait. I can't wait to see what happens next with those guys.
Well, on that note, I told Aiden Horn back in 2021. He was talking. He was like, things are kind of getting heavy, on the team. And I was like, man, I said, you're coming. And I said, people see you coming. I was like, you're getting there. You're coming. Like, it's the kind of changing of the guard or whatnot.
Right.
And this was 2021 at Masters of Dirt. And now he's like, he has arrived, like he's there. And now he's got that to deal with, But
it's hard being the man, dude. It's hard being a pro driver, man. It's not easy.
Yeah.
That was the hardest job I ever did, including the military stuff that I did.
You remember Jeremy Courts, the bad boy?
Oh yeah, Jeremy. Yep. He's he used to race at Breakaway too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bad boy of RC. I think that's what they titled him back then.
Yeah, Bad Boy RC, that's
it. You snapped a picture that nobody posted. I'm like, why did anybody not catch on this picture? You got Curtis Hustings, Eustace Moore, Joel Johnson, and it's another guy back in the corner. I can't quite place him. But you got all of them in one picture.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's
just pillars of our community. I know.
Yeah, and nobody. I know you posted it because I commented on when you posted it. But I'm like, why did nobody else pick up on this picture? Like,
I don't know. Sometimes Facebook's a logarithm. If like your picture doesn't get a like or heart on it within the first like hour that it's posted, that's it. Nobody ever sees it from there.
Right.
Unless they're looking for it. Unless they're like literally physically scrolling through the pictures and they see it, you know?
Right.
So it just has to do with the way that Facebook works.
So where was this taken at? I know it was at Hoosiers, but yeah, I've given up like the Facebook and the algorithms. I only post stuff for people, friends only. So if somebody adds me, I go to their Facebook, and if they don't have like RC or anything related to RC, I don't add them. And that way I can kind of keep the RC community and can keep, kind of haters and stuff away,
Yeah, I welcome the haters. They just fuel me.
I
had a guy tell me today that me beating Masami at a club race didn't count. I was like, oh, it fucking counted.
Yeah.
God damn right it
counted. Yeah. Yeah, I see you got Warren Rona, Jason Rona. Yeah, it looked like y'all standing probably at a restaurant or something, but
Oh, I know what you're talking about now, yeah. Yeah, the icon, the three amigos, dude. The three icons of RC, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know who that other guy is in the background. He's not an RC legend or anything. I don't know who he is. Yeah, yeah, it's Curtis Hustine.
Yeah.
You have Eustace Moore. Yeah. And you have Joel Johnson talking to each other just candidly, and I snapped a photo of them.
Yeah.
They looked like they were having so much fun.
And it's nobody tuned into that picture. I'm like, how do y'all not? Like, I'm going to add this picture in our conversation so show people, like, what we're talking about, but,
Okay, yeah. That's a good photo. Yeah, that's an amazing photo. I wish I had more photos like that, where I took a photo photography class in college, and they always said to, like, try and take pictures of people that aren't really, like, posing. Yeah. And you'll get better pictures.
Yeah.
So still kind of follow that now. I'll just walk up. I'll have my camera like kind of by my waist, and I'll just snap pictures of people, and they don't even know.
Yep.
Then I look at them, and if they come out good, I keep them. If they don't, I delete them.
Yep.
So that was one of those photos where they didn't know I was taking that picture. Like if I would have said, "Hey guys, turn around," then it would have just looked like a staged picture. That's just them candidly having a conversation.
Yeah.
You know.
I
yeah.
I got to meet and talk to Gene Hustings, but I never got to talk to his son. And I got to meet Eustace. I met him at the 94 Winter Champs, and kind of talked to him the same way me and you're talking, and asked him his story. But yeah,
Eustace has the most unique story of any of us. First of all, he started in 1971.
Yep.
In Los Angeles, California. I mean, not like the ideal place to start RC.
Yeah.
In the 70s, stuff wasn't going on in Los Angeles. It was going on everywhere around it, but not in Los Angeles. And he did it in Los Angeles.
Yeah, he told me back in 94, he told me he got a degree in plastics.
Yeah. Yeah, he got his engineering degree and just learned how to become an engineer and make cool stuff. I mean, Eustace MIP, when I first learned what MIP meant, I was like, that is the coolest Moore's Ideal Products. Yeah. I'm like, that is the coolest thing ever that I could think of for the name of a company, Yeah. But yeah, Eustace, he's a great guy. I love Eustace. We raced for 13th and 14th at the Clash, and he pipped me on the last one. But like I said, I wasn't really trying too hard.
Yeah.
But Eustace is just the nicest guy that you can imagine is in RC.
I see.
I don't know how better to put it.
Yeah, same way. So same way, me and my dad meeting him in '94, like one of the coolest. But I see you got a picture of Greg Hodap in the pits.
Yep.
And it's like,
again, he doesn't know I'm taking his picture. He's not
well,
like
it,
posing or anything.
it looks like he's in that mode, like what you
Yeah,
talked
he
about
is.
that earlier. Like it looks like the old Greg Hodat from back in the day.
Yep.
He's locked in, you know.
He was locked in. I mean, after he realized he could win the race,
Uh-huh.
he just started. He was working on his making little changes here and there on his car and doing this and that. He changed his motor. Like it was supposed to be a gentleman's agreement that we were going to run 17.5s.
Uh-huh.
Everybody ended up with a 13 turn, and it's just like me and Eustace are like, we're not changing our motors. Everybody else changed their motors. So yeah, it was wild. But yeah, Greg locked in, man. He turned on his little go mode switch. So, and he was fast. And Greg asked me a question while we were there. He said, "Do you think we could be pros again?" And I giggled and I said, "Nope. Our time to do that has come and gone." And I said, and the best that we can do is be expert level, and but being a paid pro is out of the question, man.
Yeah.
And he agreed. He said, "Yeah, I think you're right."
Well, one of the questions I was asking is the body. Did you have that body painted, or is that the body that came with the car?
That is my race colors, and that's my body, and I have it here at my house. It's sitting right next to me.
Okay.
Those are my race colors from when I was on Team Associated and Team Losi.
Who?
And I still race with those race colors today.
Who painted that one?
Smiley Hen painted that.
Okay.
He's my painter. He's here out of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
He lives in near Houston, and he's a great painter. You can find him on Facebook.
Okay.
And plug, and then but yeah, his name's Smiley Hen. Okay. Brian Hen. Oh, good dude.
So, sorry to get off the subject or topic, but back to like Greg Hodap and him asking you that question. Do you think we can do it again? The guys today, this is what me and Jason Rono was kind of talking at Hoosiers, years ago, was we had so much grit back then, man. Like him asking you that question, that's like he still got that fight, that I'm going to go back out, like. So that brings to our questions. What do you think of the state of RC, the racers now, the races, the state of RC now? What you think?
Are we talking about 10 scale or 8 scale or just overall in general?
You want to break it up?
Yeah, we can break it up.
10 scale.
Dead. Next question.
A scale.
A scale is still a true form of off-road. We got outdoor tracks. I'm going to a track in San Angelo this weekend that I've never been to.
Uh-huh.
And the only information I have about it is some real shaky videos that I found on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
And it's an outdoor track. It's supposed to be 100 degrees out there, dusty, and they're going to water it and everything, but it's going to get dusty and grimy, and it's going to be off-road.
Okay.
And that's 8 scale. 8 scale is true off-road still.
Okay.
But 10 scale is just, I tend to agree with what Ryan Mayfield said on a podcast not too long ago, that they killed 10 scale by moving everything indoors and racing on carpet, like AstroTurf and carpet and all this stuff. I mean, it's kind of cool. They're going to have an actual race for the World Championship on an outdoor track where they're going to, the track's going to be wet and it's going to be like mud and dirt.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be a groove after a while, but at first it's going to be loose and wet and muddy but everybody's going to have a chance to win the Worlds on a true outdoor track down there in Australia.
Right.
So that's kind of cool. But we need to have more tracks like that. Right. We need more outdoor tracks for 10 scale. And in Texas, we don't have a single outdoor track for 10 scale, and we don't. I think we have one carpet track left. And for 10 scale is just dying off. But where 10 scale dies off, 8 scale is picking it all up. Electric buggy is just taking off and is the biggest class, and it's a little easier for the new guys to get into the electric than it is to the nitro. As you know, nitros takes a two-man team pretty much to run nitro cars and trucks.
Right.
So the electric buggies, you can really get into it, and I think 8 scale is healthy.
Okay.
But if we're not careful, then we could kill it too. So we need to be careful with that. I think the big races are fun, but they're a little too much.
Mm-hmm.
So to go somewhere and get 10 minutes of practice and expect to perform, I mean, there's only like a handful of people in the world that can do that.
Right.
And that's proven over and over every weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And the Worlds are going to be awesome this next year. I kind of want to see if David Ungaro can do 4 in a row. Never been done before. And he's slowly chipping his way up there on the Mount Rushmore of drivers, man, and he's only 23 years old. So
Masami had it 4 in a row, didn't he?
Nah, Masami never won 4 of the same class in a row.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Masami won 4 years in a row, but he didn't win 4 of the same class in a row.
Right.
No, he never did that. Masami has 14 world championships and is by far the most successful. And then there's another guy named Lamberto Calari who raced 8 scale on-road.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has 7 in a row, and he has 9 overall. So that's the measure. But nobody in off-road has ever even touched winning like 1 or 2 in a row, or better yet, 3. And now he's going for 4, and I want to see if he can do it. I will. The Worlds are going to be in America, and I will be there to watch it.
Where at in America? Have they decided, or?
They haven't decided yet. I've heard there's a couple of tracks that might have it, but nobody's decided it yet. What? Say that again?
Is it Thornhill or Thorn?
Yeah, Thornhill.
Yeah.
Thornhill's one of the tracks, and then the track in Idaho is one of the tracks.
Okay.
So I think it's coming down to those 2, and I'm not sure which one's going to get it, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to that race, and I'm going to watch.
Right. So. RC as a whole, do you think the economy or inflation and all that's kind of hurt it?
RC has always been an upper middle class thing.
Right.
So obviously poor people, regardless of where they are in the world, are struggling just to get the basics, right?
Right.
Middle class people are just making it, so they don't really have a lot of extra for anything. And then upper middle class have always been the RC racers. That's where our core people come from.
Right.
So as long as there's an upper middle class and it continues to grow, at least here in America, I think we'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I personally feel that some of the prices for certain things like tires and parts are a little overinflated just on purpose by the companies.
Right.
Just to make more money.
Yeah.
So, and I'll give you an example. To mount a set of reflexes for J Concepts, you're looking at $96.
Right.
Okay, that's for the full, the tire, the rim, and the foam, and that's for all 4 tires. Okay.
Right.
You can buy a brand new dirt bike tire.
Yep.
For a dirt bike, for a 250 or a 400, for $100 through Dunlop.
Yep, I raced.
So you tell me why a dirt bike tire, which has 15 times the rubber on it and is way more harder to make than an RC tire, costs the same as an RC tire.
Right. True.
It's insane.
Kinda
and I know I have a friend that works at one of these manufacturers that makes tires, and he told me exactly how much it costs to make a tire.
Yeah.
and it's not that much.
Yeah. Don't
It's
say
very,
on. Don't
very,
say on.
very, very low.
Yeah. Don't say.
So they're just
Don't
price.
say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Don't say it on here because people do. Yeah. Watch a little bit.
I'm not going to say who it is.
Right. Right.
I'm just saying I think the tires are a little too expensive,
Yeah.
and the parts. The parts are the same way. Like the front arm for my car,
Mm-hmm.
I know it costs about 25 cents to make that part.
Right.
But the end user, when he or she buys that arm, it's in almost the 30s to buy it.
Right.
So why does a 25-cent part all of a sudden go to $30? You see what I'm saying? How these numbers have just been blown way out of proportion.
Yeah.
So I don't know how racers are going to sustain in the future if tariffs go up and inflation goes back up and it just gets more and more expensive. It's going to get harder and harder and harder to race.
Yeah.
And racers are the smallest segment of the hobby. So
yeah,
it could be in 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, but there might not be racing anymore
right.
like we know it now. And I hope that doesn't happen because I don't want to be in my 60s remembering the days when I could go racing and, that doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, kind of like bicycles, like new mountain bikes cost much as a $450 motorcycle, a bicycle,
Yeah, a bicycle. Right, exactly. Like, it should never even be that expensive.
And when I started racing back in 91, racing was $5.
Yeah. Yeah, it was $7 in my track to race.
Yeah.
And you could use race bucks, though. So, like, say you got first place, you get $12 in race bucks. You could use the $12 in race bucks to race the next race.
Yeah.
For $7, you'd give them 7 of your 12, and you'd still have 5 left over to buy some brushes and maybe a can of motor spray or something. You know?
So another question is, why isn't RC mainstream? Why it hasn't hit mainstream yet? Like, I remember 93, Cliff Lett was on MTV Extreme Sports. I think it was, yeah. I remember him on there, but RC racing hasn't reached mainstream. Why isn't it?
I know when I was a pro driver, I asked the same question to some of the manufacturers that own some of the people that own the manufacturers, and they said they didn't want it on there. They didn't want it that big. They wanted to keep it at a certain level where they're just making enough money, but they were afraid that if a company like Ford or GM or back then Daimler Chrysler, which I don't know what they're called now, but Ford or GM, we'll just go with them. If they got involved with RC, imagine if they had their own cars and threw their budgets at RC racing. Like, they would literally wipe out all of the RC manufacturers in a few years. They would be gone.
Yeah.
And all you'd have was Ford and GMC.
Yeah.
And that's it. So they don't really want those guys in there.
Mm-hmm.
As far as mainstream, like being on television and stuff, it's... Man, the closest we're going to get is what we got right now. There's no drama involved. The Ryan Mayfield, Ty Tessman thing, when they had that big money race, that was like the most drama I've seen in an RC race in years.
Yeah.
You know? So there's not like a storyline. There's no danger. Like, you're not going to get killed in the RC car. It's not going to explode. Mm-hmm. So there's not a lot to market. It's a tough sell for people to turn it on and actually watch it, like basketball and baseball and football and Formula One, and those are easy sells. I mean, you can get killed driving a Formula One car. That ain't gonna happen in your RC car. Right. So I think that's part of it. When I was a pro driver, I tried to run for Roar president. Mm-hmm. And we were going to take Roar and turn it into an entertainment company, and we were going to script it like WWE and then try and sell it. Me and Ernie Pervetti were going to do this.
Yeah.
And we were going to script it, and we were going to sell it like WWE, and we were going to have live events, and we were going to go into arenas and stuff, and we were going to do all this, and I didn't get to be the Roar president to like dismantle Roar at the time and then turn it into an entertainment company. So that never happened, and people laughed at me and thought I was weird.
Yeah.
And I tried, though. I tried to make it mainstream, and now I don't care. I'm like, whatever. I kind of have my own thing now, and I'm just a revivalist at this point that is coming back, and I'm just happy to be here and race. And I like to go to other tracks other than just my home track, and I like to race the regional races around Texas. Texas, you can spend all year racing the races here in Texas without ever leaving.
Right.
It's so big. So, yeah, that's what I like to do. And as far as marketing that, I don't see how, man. Maybe Mr. Science came out or something, or Sid the Science Guy or whatever his name is.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if that guy came out and started explaining the physics and stuff and the math and the geometry based off of the cars and the math that goes into like the car going around the turn, and started talking about camber and caster and toe in and toe out and stuff, maybe that would get some people interested in it. Yeah. But we would need some kind of celebrity to really be the face of RC, not a racer either.
Well, like
an actual celebrity.
Well, the thing is, where I raced Mooresville, NASCAR. So I'll be on the driver's stand. I mean, no lie. Like I made this joke to a buddy, but I was like, a Wednesday night club race at Speed RC, if you took everybody's salary and added their salary up that they make at their job, it would probably total about $30 million.
Wow.
On the driver's stand, we had William Byron, we had Justin Allgaier, Tony Stewart, a couple people that that were like engineers at race teams. They were up there. Yeah. Jamie McMurray, Scott Speed. I mean, it was, and this is like like a Wednesday night club race. Like these are but these guys go there to relax and have fun.
Yeah, it's a getaway for them.
Yes, yeah. Like Malcolm Stewart in motocross, he races RC cars.
He was on Team Associated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has his own indoor track in Florida. His own private indoor track in Florida.
Wow.
But yeah. But all right, so I'm gonna switch gears. I'm gonna throw some names out there.
Sure.
And you just tell me like first thing come to mind or a story or whatnot, okay?
Okay.
All right, first one. Gil Losi Jr.
Gil Losi Jr., he had a profound impact on my career, but the last time that I saw him and the last thing that he kind of said to me was right before I went in the service. He was helping me out because I had nothing, like all I had was a radio and an engine, and that was it. And like I wanted to race the Dirt Nitro Challenge one last time, and I called him up and asked him if he could help me, and he said yes, and he gave me prototype Losi 8s from this is way back now. Yeah. Losi prototype 8s, and he gave me about 15 of them in boxes, and they were all crashed and everything. It looked like they ran them into the sidewalk or something, like just straight into the sidewalk because they were just smashed up. So I had to take those cars and put them all together and everything, and then I built a car out of that, and I went racing at the DNC. But what Gil said, though, he's all, I'm so proud of you guys. And I said, you guys, like me and your son? His son was sitting with him. And he goes, no, he's like, you and Chris Being. He's like, you two, you are my guys, and now you're serving your country, and you're going off, and you're going to fulfill that role model. He's like, you're going to be a role model now, Gabe. And I was like, wow. So that was the last thing that Gil Losi said to me, and that'll stick with me forever. I know he's still out there. I think he still works for for Horizon, and He's still an engineer for them and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't seen him since that day at In-N-Out in 2006. Or 2007, I'm sorry, 2007.
Another name, Brian Kinwald.
Now, Brian Kinwald, he's the greatest of all time. And I'll tell you why. Brian Kinwald, he only won the Worlds twice.
Mm-hmm.
But he won the Worlds in 93, and I don't remember seeing Masami in that World. And he won the Worlds in 97. And I remember seeing Masami in that one. All right?
Mm-hmm.
But he got second 9 times. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Not only did he get second 9 times, his drivers that he taught how to drive and mentored, Spencer Rivkin, Ryan Cavalieri, the list goes on and on and on,
Mm-hmm.
Mike Trujillo, you know, all these guys that he mentored
Mm-hmm.
went on to have fabulous careers. How many world championships does Ryan Cavalieri have? 4?
Yeah.
How many world championships does Spencer Rivkin have? 2?
Yeah.
You know, and how many national championships between all of them do they have? They have so many, it's hard to count. You can't count them all.
Right.
I don't remember Masami having mentors like that went off and did that stuff.
Right.
There's no other, like, super famous... the only other famous Japanese driver is Atsushi Hara, and he kind of did it on his own.
Yeah.
All right? And Masami didn't mentor Atsushi Hara. Atsushi Hara learned on his own.
Right.
And Kinwald has that tree. Like, if you're looking at a coaching tree in the NFL, his coaching tree looks like Bill Walsh's coaching tree. You know, it's huge. And the wins and the championships that he has is just enormous. And I think because of all that, because of all the innovation, because of everything that he did for our sport, that just makes him the greatest of all time. And that's it.
So, next name, Masami.
Masami, a true icon, and the most winningest driver of all time.
Mm-hmm.
14 world championships. I think he won the nationals in Japan 100 times or something.
Yeah.
You know, some ridiculous number like that. And an ambassador to his country, not just to RC, to his country. And that's what he is a national hero still to this day in Japan. Like, you mentioned to Japanese people Masami Hirisaka, and they're like, Masami, and they start doing their thing with their thumbs.
Yeah.
Like they're driving the car. Yeah, they know who he is. He's been on TV there. He's a hero. He's a hero to the Japanese people. I mean, Brian Kinwald is not a hero to the American people. He's a hero to the Japanese people.
Yeah.
Not just the RC racers, the people, just the regular people, you know. So Masami is he's an icon. He's definitely on the Mount Rushmore of RC. He stands alone with 14 world championships. But there's a new guy coming for him. You know, they always say there's somebody better than you, no matter what. So there's a new guy coming for him. And like I said, we'll see how many this kid ends up with.
Oh, I already know. I think I have an idea who the kid is, and you can't call him little anymore.
Yeah, well, the young man there.
Yeah. So another name, Brian Dunbar.
Brian Dunbar, the smoothest dude that I ever knew. Taught me how to get girls. Yeah, just, I mean, Mr. Suave, and just so smooth on the track. Fierce competitor. I mean, that guy hates to lose.
Yeah.
Hates to lose.
Yeah.
I hate losing. That's something that we all have in common from that era, is we all hate losing.
Yeah.
But I didn't know anybody that hated to lose more than Brian Dunbar. And he's a legend. We will never forget him and what he did for our sport. And I love him, and I love his dad. And you know, the Dunbars knew the Boudreaus, and the Boudreaus knew the Dunbars, and we were good buddies. And I just gone too soon. We're the same age too.
Yeah.
So we were both born in '77, and he's Mr. Smooth.
Yeah. Yeah. Where did you get the sticker? I saw you had the Dunbar sticker on your car. I was like, that is.
Dunbar and Kinwald were driving my car around for me.
I was like, that is super cool.
So there was some pits set up for some of the legends that couldn't come, and then there was like a little area where the manufacturers had their stuff set up, and they had a Kinwald area, and they had the little Team Kinwald, and they had the Team Dunbar stickers. Somebody had made those. I don't know who made them. And I gaffled all of them. I took all of them. I was like, these are mine. And I just said zint and took them all. And I stuck 2 of them on my car. I put a Brian on the front, and I put a Brian Kinwald on the front, and Dunbar on the side. And now they're on my pit light too. So... they ride around with me. They're watching me all the time. They're judging me too. Man, are they judging me? Like,
another name, Mike Reedy.
Mike Reedy gave more guys a shot at being a champion than any other guy that I could think of. He was Team Associated's team manager forever before Telke took over. And Telke will probably be the team manager until the day he dies, just like Mike.
Right.
So, Mike, just the nicest guy, just wanted you to have fun, understood everything about RC, like the economy of RC, how us traveling and stuff helps the local economies for these races and stuff, how the track makes money. The guy just knew so much. He was just so smart. Pioneered a lot of stuff for the DC motors, and was just a great mentor to have. I never heard negative stuff come out of Mike's mouth.
Same here.
It was always positive, and he was always trying to pump you up somehow.
Yeah.
He didn't talk very loud. He didn't yell and shout or anything. He was just a real good guy. Just I miss him immensely. I hope he's up there watching me with my Reedy hat on, my Reedy power on my cars nowadays. Right. Because the Reedy motor that I got in my car is the fastest motor I've ever ran in my life. Right. It's so fast.
I'm gonna throw another name. Ernie Pavetti.
Ernie Pavetti. Ernie Pavetti was the most cutthroat businessman that ever existed in RC. As far as I know, he's the only guy that made the Fortune 500 as an RC manufacturer too. Wow. So I don't think the other ones ever made that. He made the most money, and between those millionaires and stuff, like they have their weird little cliques that they have. Those millionaire kind of guys, like he was the richest out of all of them. Yeah. And he was a cool guy. I loved talking to him. He pushed me he gave me team orders. He would call me on the phone and tell me to do stuff we had cell phones back then, and he would call me on the phone and tell me, I want you to do this to this guy and this to this guy and this to this guy, and and kick Mark Pavitas in the shin. I'm like, okay, great. Right. So, but Ernie was a very, very cutthroat businessman, but he was a good father, and he loved his kids and his family. He loved his mom. He was a great guy, man. I have nothing bad to say about Ernie. I know a lot of people do, but I don't. Yeah. I'm gonna throw some old school names out there to you. And like I said, I'll post these on the video, but okay. Do you remember Kyle Reed? Yes, I do. Yep. I remember Kyle Reed. I forgot to say that he raced at our track.
Uh-huh.
And me and my dad raced at his track. His dad had a track in Riverside, California called RCRC.
Mm-hmm.
And we raced over there with his brother. It was Kyle Reed and Ryan Reed. And Ryan was just as fast as Kyle. He was just a little bit younger.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, great guy, man. Real serious about racing and, like, winning and just... He was always practicing, and he won the nationals. I remember when he won the nationals. It was either 91 or 92.
Savannah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He won the nationals. That was a big deal, and he made the main at the Worlds a couple of times too. So I miss him. I miss him. I always wondered what happened to him.
Yeah, me too. Another name. Jack Johnson.
Jack the Hammer Johnson. Let's get it right. Jack Johnson was, when I was on Team Losi, he was doing the internet stuff for Team Losi.
Mm-hmm.
And because that was all kind of new, and Jack kind of went to school for it and stuff. And he was a great racer. I raced against him. I remember beating him the first time and him just being so angry. He's like, who's this dumb kid at Breakaway that just smoked me in the truck class, you know?
Uh-huh.
And it was me. And then I ended up on the team later on, and he's like, oh, yeah, Gabe. Yeah, I remember that kid. I remember when he was a little dirty kid that raced and ran around the track and turn-marshaled for everybody.
You remember Ron Rossetti?
Oh, yeah. Ron Rossetti tested all the Losi stuff.
Yep.
He was their test guy.
Yeah.
He tested every car that you can imagine that they have. He probably still is testing their cars today, if I had to guess.
Uh-huh.
Ron Rossetti, he raced at Breakaway too. Ron Rossetti, I don't think Ron Rossetti ever liked me, but he liked my dad, so he kind of tolerated me.
Uh-huh.
But I would ask him a zillion questions about tires and motors and batteries and servos and speed control settings and radio settings and what auxiliary or how much expo do you have in your radio and this and just a million, and he would answer all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But it seemed like he was he would get tired of that after a while and just walk off. But yeah, Ron's a great guy. I like Ron. I have a lot of respect for Ron Rossetti.
Was you there with Gary Keyes? Like, I remember Gary Keyes briefly with Team Losi.
Yeah, Gary Keyes was the vice president of Team Losi.
Yeah.
Yep. I roomed with him at one of the first races that I went to on Team Losi, and we roomed together. That guy snores so loud. So, I had to put pillows over my head because he just snored so loud.
The wild man, or not the wild. Well, I heard he was the wild man. JD the Duke Beckwith.
My interactions with him were very limited.
Okay.
I saw him at. I remember him at the April Fool's race when I was on Team Associated in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me some advice, and he's like, man, if you're going to do something with your life, don't do it in RC. He's like, get an education and get money. Something weird like that. I was like, okay. I'm like, what are you doing, JD? You know, and we just had that one interaction. That was the only time I ever talked to that guy. Just, you know, even though I was on the team and everything, we didn't all talk back then. We had our friends.
Yeah. Did you talk? Next name Bob Novak. Did you get to talk with Bob?
Oh yeah, yeah. I was on Novak. I was on their factory team. So
okay.
With Brian and Greg, we were all on Novak, and yeah, we worked a lot with Tyree Phillips back then. And,
yeah.
yeah.
Tyree.
And Bob Novak, yeah, we what would happen, like, we would have some bad speed controls,
Mm-hmm.
and they'd want them, and, like, shipping stuff back then wasn't normal, so we would just jump in our car and drive to Novak.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd give us a tour of me and Brian would be there, and he'd give us a tour, and he's like, here's your speed control, where your speed control is going to be fixed, and all this stuff, and it was all done right there in Orange County. It was all built, and everything was done in Orange County.
Another name.
Yeah, Bob was a good guy. Bob's still around, and he's awesome.
Is Tyree still around?
I think Tyree he's playing music now. He's doing music stuff.
Okay.
He's like a jazz flute, or not jazz flute, a jazz saxophone.
Mm-hmm.
So he's doing that. So he's in like a jazz band. I have him on my Facebook
Okay.
friends list. So I still see some of his stuff now that we're talking about him. He'll probably pop up in my feed.
Right. Another name, a mutual name we mentioned earlier, Derek Fatani.
Derek Fatani. Derek used to come out to Breakaway, and I couldn't believe that Derek Fatani was at Breakaway, and just a super nice guy, fierce racer back in the day. He created a team called Team Homies, and I'm still on that team. Like, it's for life. And I talked to him yesterday. He might come down to this race here in Thornhill, not this weekend, but next weekend. He might come down, and I hope to see him there.
Mm-hmm.
If not, he'll be at the Nationals in a couple of months. So I'll see him then. But Derek is just one of the best guys in the industry. Just so nice, and just, I know he's up there working at KO Show, and KO Show moved to Texas, so he's in Dallas, and Derek's great, man. I love Derek.
Yeah. Like I said, he was he took me under his wing at the Winter Champs, and then we saw each other at the Nationals, and he was just like my eyes and ears. Like, he let me know. So I raced like a little small track in North Carolina, and it was just local hobbyists. It wasn't anybody. It was a couple of us that were like traveling and racing, but not to that level. And Derek kind of opened my eyes to what was out there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, Derek's good people. I learned a lot from him when I first got sponsored and was trying to become a factory driver and everything. I learned a lot from Derek.
Yeah. What was it about? So I never been to SoCal. My buddy Anthony Andrews, him and his dad went for the Reedy race, but I never been. But I always heard there was like a vibe about that place where you walked in, you knew you were at someplace special. What was it?
Oh man, it was this weird building. It was an old Albertsons that they converted into a racetrack. Mm-hmm. And the track was real big for the time, like indoor, for an off-road 10 scale track, it was real big.
Mm-hmm.
The jumps were real big. And the dirt was kind of interesting. It would groove up a little bit, but we didn't really have the tires or anything to make it groove. So they'd water it and stuff, and then it'd be all slimy, and it was real hard to go fast there right away. You had to put some time in to figure out how to go fast at SoCal.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the top guys in the country raced there.
Yeah.
Every night. Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays was the Nationals over and over and over. It was just a repeat of the Nationals over and over.
Right.
And we would have 200 to 300 entries on a Wednesday, you know?
Yeah.
At a club race. Just club races. And it was just fun. The atmosphere was fun. The pro shop was just set up for racers and stuff. There was none of this Traxxas or Arma or any of that stuff. It was just racing, and that was it.
Yeah.
Just racer stuff. And when you walked in there, you just felt like you had come to somewhere where the competition was going to be good, and you were going to have a good time, and it was going to be fun, and it was going to be hard to win. So that's just the way it was. It just had its weird little world. There's nothing like SoCal now.
Yeah.
The closest thing to it is Thornhill.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, I remember Dean Kearns when we was on Scooter Motorsports. Him telling me he worked all winter in Ohio, or worked all summer, something like that in Ohio, and saved up his money and then go to California and spend 3 or 4 months just running at SoCal. He said that's how he got faster.
Yep, I remember him there.
Yeah. He said that's how.
Who's this goofball, man? They're like, oh, that's Dean Kearns.
Yeah.
Like, why is he wearing disco shoes at the track? Disco Dean.
Yeah. So I remember him telling me that. He said, like, that's where he went to get faster, was there.
Yes. You went to SoCal to learn how to go fast.
Yeah. I heard OCRC kind of had that.
Yeah, it did. But it wasn't the same as SoCal.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I remember, calling Derek, calling his house, and somebody answered his house and said, call the track. And I would call the track, and somebody would pick up, and I was like, is Derek Bertani there? And he would always come and answer the phone and chat with me for like 5 or 10 minutes,
Yep, they used to call us over the PA. Gabe Boudreau, you have a phone call. Gabe Boudreau, you have a phone call. I'm like, all right, let's go see what it is. My mom.
Yeah.
Are you coming home today? Nope. All right, bye, Mom. Love you.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember Dean Kearns doing that, man. He's like, that's because nobody on the East Coast was taking it to that except the Florida guys. So the Florida guys were Rona, J.R. Mitch, Brett and Brad Relfs. You had another guy named Joe Freitas. He was down there. But they were all down in Florida. But none like, North Carolina or Ohio or anything like that,
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I remember. And then Brian Dunbar told me he went out there also he was out there with Dean for those months to get faster.
Yeah, they were there to get ready for the World Championships in '95.
Yeah.
I remember them being there.
Well,
they were just young guys like me.
Just trying to make it.
Yep.
Yeah. Man, thank you for the interview, man.
Oh, no problem. Like I said, thank you.
Like I said, if I miss a point, I'll call you and say, hey, let's talk about this.
Okay.
But, yeah, well, thank you. I'll let you go there, and I'll give you a shout tomorrow. That was a awesome interview. Wow. Thank you, Gabe. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Plenty of pit